What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to get into a very important point when it comes to Asperger and relationships and everything. What I'm going to call this as behavioral credibility. Now, what is behavioral credibility? It means that you have credibility with the way you have behaved or carried yourself that will help you with relationships, or help you make progress. So I'm going to apply this to relationships first. Like, what's a good example of this? Well, let's say you got this kid who doesn't have any friends in his new school. He's being bullied and pushed around constantly. But the problem is, like he tries to tell his parents or caregivers or anybody, the first thing they think in their head when he says, I don't have any friends here, they say to him, oh my God, remember the time that nice kid came over to your house 2 weeks ago to hang out with you. You didn't want to do anything. You didn't want to hang out with him. They might have that in their head because of his behavior has had a negative reinforcement on what they believe in the situation. And there can also be a situation where a guy acts inappropriately around others or maybe hangs out with the wrong people, and then it's like the boy who cried wolf because he has lost credibility. And now he's trying to explain to his parents or whoever, I met this nice guy, I want to hang out with him or go bowling or something. They're like, nope, you've hung out with the wrong people or you made bad decisions, so we're keeping you home and grounded. We don't know this guy, we don't trust you, so you've lost cred. Or they could see somebody that bothers somebody inappropriately for a relationship. And so, they see them bothering somebody first year of college and the school notifies the parents, or it could happen in junior high or elementary school or wherever. But the parents know about this. And the problem is, now he meets a nice person for a relationship. And they may say, well, you've always had bad taste in people. You've always shown very little discretion. And so these negative reinforcements might eliminate the guy's credibility when it matters. And they may have parents that say, no, you're not to date anybody right now. You're not emotionally mature. You're to sit here and stay home. Otherwise, you're going to go and getting high or some crap. And they jump to conclusions because they don't believe what the kid is saying. And this is where you got to show that you have judgment. And you got to show that you can make reasonable decisions. Because there can be a time when a kid goes to a college and he hangs out with horrible quality people. They're pushing him around in this high school or college or junior high or anywhere. And he tries to explain to his parents that something is going on. And the first thing they say is, you don't know anything. You can't read people, or you're pushing a dangerous response. And so in this situation, they may completely be right, but nobody believes them because their behavior has shown a dangerous picture. And so this is where it's important to pick up on social cues. And the important thing to do is, like if they see you hanging out, getting good response from people, then if somebody's pushing you around, they'd say, yeah, he's an asshole. Stay away from him. Whereas if they see somebody going out there acting abrasive, having problems with interaction, then they may base it on that. And the guy may say something, they say, oh, okay, whatever. And it's like, why don't you believe me? It's like, well, you've been saying all this other stuff at home, or you've been behaving this way for a long time. I've seen it with my own two eyes. And so this is where, you can have a guy who bothers somebody inappropriately for a relationship. Then he turns around and says, you know what? I met this girl. And they're like, no girlfriend. Nope, you're not emotionally mature. You're maybe not till you're 50. And they get into that kind of garbage rut that people can tend to stereotype autism into. And they may have bad behavior, and then the parents say, oh, it's based on your autism. You just don't get it. And the person has no credibility, and so they can't make any points. And this is where it can happen in any situation. A guy may have very bad work and lose his credibility with a boss, or have very bad schoolwork, lose credibility with a teacher. Or they may be intelligent, but the teacher sees them walk into a class with the wrong students. They may have trouble focusing, and then they assume, oh, he's not serious or whatever, and they get the wrong idea about him. And so he becomes known as, maybe a deceitful, dangerous stereotype, when he actually is not. And this is where a lot of these stereotypes with autism can be played to death. And you may see somebody who makes one little mistake, and the wrong person sees it. And then, maybe their parent. And then they turn around and say, well, I'm going to the prom. They're like, no, you are not. I don't trust you. I'm not letting you drive because you're going to get dope. I'm not going to let you go to the prom because you're trying to get a hotel room, I'm sure. Or, they basically say, well, you're not behaving. And it can happen to any extent, where somebody meets a nice person and then no matter what, the parents just don't approve of it because they feel they are looking out for them. And because they're negatively reinforced behaviors, they may decide what's right for them. And they may turn around, have a kid that has a lot of talent and says, I want to do this or that. And they say, no, you will not. We will choose your major in college or high school or wherever. We're going to choose what you take because we don't want you getting into trouble. And they can turn around and make disastrous decisions on somebody and decide what they think is good for them if it really isn't. So, this is my video, and how would you do this? Well, you got to show good judgment for one thing. Pay attention to people's cues, and, let your parents or caregivers or whoever, or teachers and everybody, know that you care and that you're trying to make good decisions. Because if you get in trouble and stuff like that, it can get you misinterpreted in a dangerous fashion. And then you may be right, and you lose 100% credibility. And no matter how right you are, people shun your answers out. Like, oh, he doesn't get it. And that's the worst thing you could have. As, if some guy goes out there acting inappropriately and his parents say, I will not encourage you to have any relationships right now. I don't think you're ready for it. And they give this hardcore attitude that they don't think it's good for the person. They start getting into this junior high or elementary mode or the super controlling mode where they feel the person needs structure or guidance. And they feel like the person is out of control. That's the issue. In a lot of cases where somebody says, man, everybody's pushing me around, and the people that are in the Autism Society betray us because they say it's our fault for having autism and social interaction when they may actually be pushed around for other things. So it's important that this is where you want to profile stuff, you want to gain credibility, and you want to stay out of trouble, and avoid situations, they can come back. Like a guy could go out there and be bothering somebody inappropriately, and then he's in a dangerous situation. And they say, well, we don't know. We weren't there. We won't make any judgments. You seem to have a bad attitude or whatever. And they turn around and they slam it on the other person. Like, well, you're in the dating death row right now. I'm not allowing you to go out with anybody because you're acting like the top 10 people that are avoided at all costs. And then, they basically say, well, we don't know what's going on. We won't allow this. So it's important to gain this credibility. And the credibility is very important because if you don't have it, you might be misled or pushed into something that's a dangerous fit or a disastrous situation because somebody believes honestly that you are, in need of guidance. And you may have a parent who says, I'm not letting you date this girl because I don't think you've shown good judgment. And they turn around and they throw it on them. And the person may have done something stupid way back, but it's shaped their mind. And in their mind, they're thinking that they are right in what they are doing to protect this person. And they may turn around, throw away half their stuff. They may turn around and, decide, okay, you're not collecting anything or you're not doing anything because they believe this child has made horrible decisions. And you see that a lot of times in Teach, where people can have parents that just say, oh, you're not in control. We're doing this for you. Or they don't believe what the person's interested in. They say, no, you're not doing this. And they get real hardcore, and they may make disastrous decisions and restrict a child from hanging out with somebody they get along with just because they believe that maybe that person's trouble because of what they've done in the past. It shaped their mind. Or they may see somebody have a tantrum and upset about something, and then they say the next day, you know what, I met this girl. I want to use your car to go out. And they say, no, I'm not so sure because you might get mad and hit that girl or something. People can get real rigid notions in their head where you can shape a situation and worry a teacher or a parent or whoever, and then they make decisions for you. Like if some guy was some guy was going to a party and he was so drunk and high that people thought he was going to have poisoning. They dragged him to the hospital even if he was conscious and talking because they lost credibility and are not in control. And so in this situation, like situations like these, you got to make reasonable choices, and you got to realize, what you do shapes opinions. If you go to a new environment, people get their idea on you. Are you going to be the normal? It's not about normal and not normal. It's about whether you're getting good attention and good interpretation. And in this day and age, you could have somebody that's completely innocent that gets railroaded in the worst possible image just because of little situations. And you can have people make quick attitudes, and so in these situations, profiling for somebody with Asperger could go in any direction. There could be one guy that's totally harmless, that's looked at as the worst person. There could be another guy who's very much like in a lot of directions where they may be good or bad or whatever, and they get interpreted in lots of different ways. And it can be different for somebody with Asperger, the way they're interpreted by the environment. And you can have a student that knows a lot and the teacher doesn't respect him because they feel that he is not attentive, or, it's synergy, because however you come off initially,